that to happen, we have to get 100,000 signatures. So if you run into someone coming around asking you to sign a petition for Fix SAPD, I mean, you need to sign it because this petition is going to give us the authority to repeal Section 143 and 174 of the Texas Local Government Code. Now, what is the Texas 143 and 174? You've probably heard those numbers thrown out quite a bit. Both of those numbers hold paragraphs in the contract that gives the police officers pretty much absolute immunity. Now, if you have some more knowledge on those two articles, can you elaborate on those? Go ahead.
Well, what I would say is that there's been a lot of movement by Black Lives Matter affiliate organizations who really believe strongly in this opportunity to have the reallocation of taxpayer dollars to support a different way of approaching the law. We know that with the Sergeant Damon Daniels, who was shot and killed by the Bexar County sheriffs recently.
Right.
That was more or less a mental health response that could have been put into place, considering the family had called the Red Cross to help. We found that after the help, that he ended up dying, and even with how he had his own firearm at his residence,
he was a licensed carrier, by the way.
Which he was licensed to carry at his home. It was almost like the process criminalized him.
And in no time did he go for the weapon. Mm-hmm. He didn't.
Again, they're trying to tarnish the victim
all the time. And for one time, we have seen where the Judge Wolf, spoke truth, which then enabled the sheriff's department then to retreat on demonizing and calling Daniels a suspect, but then seeing them themselves. That's the leadership that we really need moving forward with not only that case, but all the cases.
Kudos to Judge Wolf in this case, in this instance. He did a good thing.
And speaking about the county commissioners, they have just allocated $1.5 million toward the mental health crisis intervention team. I don't know if that's what they call it, but that's exactly what they want to do, is get a group. They want to sanction a group of authorized individuals to be able to go out on these calls, especially when this individual's brother called the Red Cross asking for help, and the Red Cross called the police.
You know, what I like about the war report, and when I was on active duty, and, you know, the three of us being veterans, is that we would have the daily war report.
Yeah.
And that war report was a synopsis of what happened that would enable commanders to be more effective and not to repeat the same mistakes.
That's right.
So now that we've had this initial war report and we're talking about Daniel's case, and you asked the question about this petition that's going out to fix SAPD, I want the listeners to understand that when these activists are out there fighting for your rights, your children's safety and welfare, that they're not radical. What they are is they're being constructive. And I think that even when I listen to the people on the north side, when they hear about this mental health reform that was just approved, as you mentioned, in Bexar County, every reasonable person believed that was the right action. Yeah. Now, the genesis of it may have come from a Black Lives Matter activist, who we sometimes tend not to give credit to, but my point is that they have great minds. They're young. They're really leaning forward and they're pushing the envelope. And we have to watch the retaliation of those very individuals who live here, because that's happening now on the ground. We're seeing the retaliation on Black Lives Matter activists because they're speaking truth to power.
Right.
Okay. I want to just give out a few points of interest of things going on here in this city. Right now, they're trying to do some convalescent plasma. Convalescent plasma. What that is, if you are a recovered victim of COVID-19, your blood and plasma is like gold. I mean, they want you to come out and donate blood, because that blood is going to help a lot of people that are suffering right now from the COVID-19. So over at Ella Austin Community Center, I don't know if it's going to be next weekend. They're going to have the blood mobile over there, so you can go over and give your blood if you're a recovering person from COVID-19. Also, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the voting issues that are coming up here. I just want to give you some deadlines about the mail-in ballot. I mean, soon as you get that mail-in ballot, don't put it on the dresser, don't put it on the table, fill it out right then, put it back in the mail. Don't hold on to that thing. You want to get it in so your vote can be counted. I mean, a lot of times people get those mail-in ballots and they sit up with the rest of the mail, and they don't ever go in. Now, just because you received a mail-in ballot, you may forget to send it in. And if you forget to send it in, you are still qualified to go to a poll and vote, as long as you don't send in that mail-in ballot. You can do one or the other. Now, if you remember to send it in, don't go to the poll and vote. But if you don't get a chance to send it in or you lose it, go to the poll and vote. Do one or the other. Now, I got some dates and timelines around here somewhere. The voting centers, the one voting center that I know of, they're going to be at, is it Claude Black Community Center, as well as the AT&T Center. They're trying to consolidate a lot of these satellite voting sections, and they're bringing them into a big place. So the AT&T Center will be one of the locations. And I'm pretty sure they're still going to do Claude Black. Also, I usually want to try to talk about something that's real positive and to help us get where we need to go as black people in the city of San Antonio. I mean, we got to embrace our blackness. I mean, we're black people no matter how you look at it. If you look like us, I mean, our shades go from one end to the other end of the melanin spectrum. I mean, we're black people. That's just the bottom line. You're going to have to like us whether you like it or not. We're here to stay. We ain't going anywhere. And you know, I said this a long time ago. No, I'm not going to say that. We got to embrace our blackness in churches. We got to embrace our blackness in our food and in our private lives. We got to be who we are. There are two pandemics here in San Antonio as well as the rest of the country. One is the COVID virus. We all know about that one. But we want to make sure here at the War Report that you know about the police brutality of black males and females. Not only are they taking out our black males, they're also taking out some of the females too. So it's a black thing, and this show is a black thing, and I want to make that perfectly clear. So with that, I want to let you know this last thing, and then Mr. Tony's going to have something to say, and Mr. Chris will too. There's two things I want to ask fight for in San Antonio. One is that our police officers become degreed officers. I mean, if we're getting these guys that's straight off the farm and straight out of the Klan and whatever else they may be in, we don't want to bring these guys into our police force. We want them to be educated and have their brain expanded a little bit where they can understand that there are black people in this world and we have rights too. We want to be respected, and we want them to treat us like citizens. We don't want them to keep acting like we have to have absolute compliance of what they have to say. We don't, especially when they want to violate the law. Just a couple of weeks ago, I didn't talk about this. They put the handcuffs on me and put me in the back of the car because I would not sign a citation twice. Now, I signed the citation, and the arrogant officer said, well, that doesn't look like your driver's license. So I told him, I said, I signed that 5 years ago because my license went out in July and they just won't give me an appointment yet. So he said, well, it doesn't look the same. And I said, well, I don't sign the same. And he said, well, sign it again. And I said, no. And he put the cuffs on me and put me in the back of the car. That's a violation of my rights, and I'm going to take them up with that.
In Military City, USA, and don't forget, Warren Smith represents many people here, and Mr. Herring as well. He's a retired military serviceman. He spent more than 20 years in service to our nation, and this is how he gets treated. So imagine what our brothers and sisters out there who are not retired. This is supposed to be Military City, USA. That's how we tout ourselves. So we have to live up to that moniker if that's what we're born black and we'll die black. but we don't want to die because we're black.
Amen.
So you have to understand that. So that's where we are. I'm sorry about the interruption.
That's all right. And for the last 4 years, 72 people were shot in Bexar County. Now, out of those 72 people shot in 4 years, 13.9 of those people were black. Now, you may say that's not a high number, but proportionately, it is a very high number. When you look at black people, are only 7.3% of the population in the city of San Antonio. So there's a serious thing going on when it comes to police officers trying to operate in our communities. They definitely want you to be absolutely compliant. If you stand up and say no to whatever they say, they're going to want to harm you. You have to know this. So you have to play your cards right so you don't end up getting shot by the police. You don't want to do that. Don't pick up your cell phone. Keep your hands up where they can see them. Don't give them a reason, even though they shoot some of us for no reason. But you still don't want to give them an extra reason. Now, with that, I want to ask Mr. Chris if he got anything to add to what we were talking about so far.
Yeah, just in short, I believe that the degreed officers is a great idea. I think that there's this process that's happening now to whereas the officers are making decisions on the scene of these areas. I saw on September 1st, and I posted it on my Facebook, about this CNN special that talked about excited delirium. And the officers will say, excited delirium, and then they'll try to have the team to be able to administer ketamine. And ketamine's a knockout. It knocks you out. And they've killed a young man. And
I saw that.
And that to me, when you saw that, that's a nightmare. Because Texas also has the practice of using this, and we're seeing that in states where it's on the increase, you're seeing more and more black and brown people die. So we need to even include that in terms of how do we control this evolution of how our policing is working in our communities.
So with that, the war report is about to come to an end for our second broadcast, but I want to say a couple of more things. What's wrong with black people? Not a thing. Not a thing. You saw the break in there, right? I wanted to say that.
Christian radio.
But thank you so much for letting us be on 1480 AM. Give us a call for any topics that you want us to discuss. Thank you again, and we're out.